Welcome back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
I'm Eric.
I'm Tucker.
I'm Scott.
Today we're going to be talking about Death Stranding, episode 5, 6, and 7. So that's going to be Mama, Deadman, and Clifford. Last we left off, we just got through a chiral supercell, and Unger, the combat veteran, came down, or no, he swept you up, Dorothy style, and he said, "Sup, beaches? This is my terrain," and he tried to take his BB back.
Beaches joke. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I this is episode 5, Mama. Unless I am forgetting what comes after this, this is the episode that hits the hardest while you're playing it, and the one that you probably remember the most after it's gone, because it's just, I don't know, whether or not you've like experienced something like this, it is very well acted by Margaret Qualley, and it can bring anybody to tears. It is fantastically moving.
Yeah, this is a part of the game that sticks with you. That you, when you're thinking back on the game, this is one of the parts that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah. Also, at the end of the last episode, I had mentioned, because he went up into that supercell, and he said he was up there for hours or whatever, and he came back, and it was as if a second. And as I was thinking about that overnight, I had the amazing epiphany that Timefall is the beach's ocean water, and the time distortion from the beach is what is in the Timefall that is sapping time in our time, because it is accelerating time because of the time distorting effects of chiralium.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you just barely found that out, Shan. I figured
Yeah,
that
I've
right
known
at the very
that
beginning.
for
Everybody
years
knew
now.
this.
For years.
No, we did. So before this, Shan was talking about how he likes, I figured out this thing that no one else noticed, and so we're all just giving him a hard time. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I had this realization because, like, I died for the first time in one of these episodes, like in one of the terrorist camps, and no, it was a BT section right before that, and I thought, okay, well, Scott's going around killing all these BTs. I want to see how awesome I am at this, and I ended up losing all of my blood bags, and I had no more bombs. And
So bad is the answer.
Yeah.
Bad.
And the cosmic lion descended from the beach, and he consumed me whole and caused a void out, which I didn't know was like I think they like procedurally generate in the area that you void out, or they probably have it. I think BTs are in specific areas, unless Timefall is dynamic in some areas. So yeah, just very
but I think the
impressive.
void out happens in specific places, because when the BT grabby guys get you, they drag you to a specific location, and that's where the fight happens. And if you run far enough away from it, then everything disperses. So I think you're right. I think they have some pre-programmed void out results.
Okay. But while I was there, and I was right before I repatriated at the seam, I was just taking my time and looking around at the ocean that I was swimming in, and I had never realized all the details there that kind of unveils the lore that's behind the beach, because I didn't realize that the ocean that you're dead inside of and that you can swim around before you find your body and you repatriate inside of it, you're at the location where you died, and so you can see, like, I could see the terrorist their camp right across from me, where I was about to go and get and fight them, and so I could see all of these landmarks of the actual area. I thought that the ocean was just like, they kind of like warp you to this other area, load it up, you swim and you repatriate, and then it loads you back to where you were. It's literally the area where you died with water in it. Had everybody else noticed that?
I hadn't noticed that specifically before. I sort of assumed the same as you, that it was like just a preset sort of a thing. But no, it's like attention to detail is crazy. And it just further draws the point and drives the point home of like how connected the beach and our world are. That they're like, the rainwater from Timefall is the water from the ocean at the beach, and just very cool stuff, super connected, that is really easy to just miss if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, so get this though. So you see, because at Middle Knot you could see all the BTs floating around, and this is where Fragile had like blown up Middle Knot and become a sort of terrorist. But I noticed the floating body, they were like more than just like the standard BTs. It looked like there were floating dead bodies in the air, and then there were the floating rocks, and you always thought it was like rocks defying gravity. But that's when I realized when I died that they're not floating because of lack of gravity, although it's probably a distortion of physics in that way. But when you're in the beach's ocean water, when you die, those things are just floating in the water. So it's actually just obeying the physics of the beach and the water that it's in. Because you see when you die, you look up and there's a bunch of dead bodies around you of other people that have died and their bodies. Those are the same bodies that are floating when you're in the physical world. And I also noticed, okay, so when you die, you have your body there floating right above the ground, and then you float into your mouth and you repatriate. And then when it goes back to the physical world, you are floating above the ground exactly where it was when it was underwater. And then you, it shows BB in your throat, and then you fall to the ground and you just kind of come to. So it is actually your physical body that is in the beach's realm, but that is the sky in the physical world.
Whew.
Is this all making sense?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there's something
as much as
with,
it
like,
can.
when you make a connection, that's why you float, is because you are, I don't know, spanning
No, that's
that
the
gap
Chiralium
in
that's
your- of like you are
that's the
in
water.
Well, yeah, like
know-
when
I
you
know
use the
it's-
Kipu to connect to the chiral network, there's floating, and because of its connection.
You mean the
to
Cupid?
Oh, the Cupid. Yeah, sorry, Kipu, Cupid. Yeah,
the Q-tips.
the Q-tips.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Scott, you were going to say something?
No, I know it's completely different, but this floating in the water and all the inversion stuff that's happening reminds me a little bit of Inside, when you have the water on top of the rooms, and then the cables that are connecting the dead bodies that are just kind of floating there. Some of the bodies even look the same as the BTs. Yeah.
Also, later in Chapter 6 with Deadman, he talks about how BBs are a bridge that are exactly in the middle of life and death, and the BB is in your throat when you repatriate, and I think it's literally because your Ka is entering your Ha, and the BB that is right there because that is the bridge between worlds, and so it's really just a symbolic representation.
It's a bridge baby
of its of entering back into the other world. So I finally understand why it's in his throat.
Very cool. Yeah.
So you're saying it's in his throat because it's... Yeah, I missed that. Why are you saying it's in his throat specifically?
It's like the umbilical cords that we'll discuss later, how it's like a connection between the physical and the metaphysical world of the beach. The bridge baby, they say, is the bridge between the beach and the real world. And so when you repatriate, you enter your own mouth because it's your soul re-entering your body. And that is, since you're entering your throat, the bridge baby is there because that is the actual connection between the real world and the beach. So it's just a symbolic thing. It's obviously not really in your throat.
Okay. All right.
So like I like it all started to click once I just like swam around a little bit in the because I died disgracefully.
Like a fool.
Are you guys spending
also,
much time like trying to connect with other players in the scene when you die? Because I keep getting notifications saying that I can do that to strengthen connections. Are any of you guys doing that kind of thing? No.
Not so much in the scene. Like in the real world, a lot of like picking up packages and trading with, dropping things off in mailboxes for other players and picking things up and completing deliveries for them. So lots of themes of connection that way. But no, not in the scene. I didn't remember that you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I picked up a few of my own items, but that's it.
Okay.
Also, okay, so the Chiralium from the Timefall pools on the ground when it rains, and because I was trying to conceptualize, okay, so if the sky is the ocean of the beach, then how are these BTs being pulled out of the physical, planet Earth? And it's really just like the ocean is actually both the sky and the Earth, but the pooling of the Chiralium just creates a density of Chiralium that's thick enough for you to create a portal to the other side. So really the ocean is everything. It is both inside the world and above the world. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like a fourth dimensional thing where we're three-dimensional beings. And so it doesn't, like, we can't really view how it interacts with our three-dimensional world, but as a fourth dimensional space, it can exist everywhere and in specific places at the same time.
Yeah. All right, so let's just actually get into this, because I think that covered everything that I was excited about that doesn't really fit linearly into the episodes that we'll be talking about. All right, so after the battle with Unger, Mama says, "Come, please see me, but I can't see you because the baby is keeping me here." And you find out later she's like actually tethered to her lab for mechanics that we'll have to discuss when we get there. So you run off there, and when you get there, the Odra deck starts going off, and it's ominous, it's creepy, you don't know what's going to happen, why is this place haunted? And you look up at the ceiling, and you see a mobile hanging from it, and it has ocean animals, like BTs. And then you see handprints on the ceiling that are, you see a BB, or a BT. I call it a BBT. I felt like the most convenient way to condense that. So you see a BBT floating near the ceiling, and then you see handprints that are detached from it that are walking near it. And as it starts walking towards its incorporeal form, you hear some crying. And then Mama shows up, and I think you see like handprints on her neck as the BT is crawling around her. And and so you come to find out that Mama has had a stillbirth, and she was in the South Knot explosion and was trapped under rubble. And what had happened is that she actually died. And at that time, she was with child, and the child passed away, but her body was recovered, and but her Ka had passed on, so she now has no soul, which you find out later, and we'll discuss why. And so during this tragic event, she became inseparably connected to her BT child, whom she won't allow to pass on to the next world.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question and see if you guys can help shed some light on this. Every time we've seen BTs up until this point, they have been trying to drag beings of the living to the other side. Like, they've been fairly hostile. And what is the reasoning behind why this BT is not aggressive and hostile? It's a fairly docile. Is it because of its connection to Mama? Is it because of some other reason? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's because it's actually a child, and so it hasn't yet learned that aggression. It doesn't have any. So a lot of these BTs that are formed, I think they allude to them having unresolved grief or trauma that tethers them to this
Ghost
world.
style, yeah.
Exactly, and this BT is actually just tethered to her because of the situation by which it passed away. So it has no unresolved trauma that it is dealing with that is causing it to become evil. But I also think it's also just her tether to her that allows her to become more docile, because they have a connection.
All right.
Yeah, also, okay, so I wanted to discuss this. Again, you see the floating BT child, and you see hands that are detached from the child that are walking towards it. And I was wondering if any of you thought about this, what it could mean.
I didn't really think too much about what it could mean. It seemed to track pretty well with what we see with the other BTs in the world, where when you watch them floating above the ground, they're still several feet off the ground, and their feet are there. So it never seemed like a one-to-one pairing of where, what you can sense with BB and what you can see splashing around the chiralium. They never completely matched, and so it didn't really throw me when the baby's footprints didn't match specifically with the ghost imaging that you could see.
Yeah, I'm again going to go back to the fourth dimensional beings kind of point that because Sam and us and everybody, we exist in a three-dimensional world, and these BTs are kind of like fourth dimensional beings, that the way that they move and the way that we see them might not correspond directly. So we see their feet pointing downwards, but their handprints are moving along the ground, even though there are no hands connected to those handprints making the handprint. That there's some kind of moving in a fourth dimension through the third dimensional world, and our brains just can't make sense of what that might look like and how that might manifest visually. And I also think it's just from a design perspective, I just think it's a good way to make BTs in particular seem otherworldly and weird and spooky.
My best conjecture to this would be that because you see the child there floating, but you then, as soon as the inky chiralium hands start walking, the moment that happens, they cue the sound of the baby crying, and it wasn't the floating BT, it was the handprints and the crying that were tethered. And I was thinking maybe the best way that I can think of to describe this is like it's like a holographic shadow or a physical memory or a lingering memory of what the baby where it would have been, or the world that it would have been living in. So it's like a shadow of the real version of itself that should have been.
Crawling on walls and stuff.
But also, okay, so also as far as hands instead of feet, it seems like hands are symbolically representative of how BTs reach through dimensions. And so I think the hands are just the only things that can break through that dimension by itself when interacting with our world. And so I think it's really like maybe these BTs are distorted figures that are just actually crawling with their hands, but none of their other body parts that are being dragged are breaking through that barrier like their hands can, because hands are the thing that reach out and form connections. So I think it's like a symbolic thing in that way.
Do we know how old BBT is?
Yeah, go.
So Mama says that she was like going to the hospital to give birth to the baby,
South
and
Knot.
then the accident, South Knot, sorry, and then the accident happened. She got trapped under the rubble, and so 0 days old. Like it was, that's baby.
Well, no, like how long ago it happened.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. How long ago it happened?
It's
I
whenever
don't know if they tell us or not.
Fragile was attacked by Higgs.
Yeah, because it's the same attack, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I assume
I'm just curious. Has the baby? Does it grow? Has it progressed since then, or is it in a state where just in a perpetual newborn state?
Yeah, just like a BB. I think it's suspended.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the Odradek light shines light on the BBT, we see that the umbilical cord is golden. So I think that is just like golden chiralium of that metaphysical world. And we later learn that umbilical cords are a conduit between worlds and can force the interaction of our matter and the beach's antimatter. So I think that the umbilical cords are full of chiralium in order to bridge that gap between those worlds that will cause the antimatter and matter to collide and cause a void out. So I think that was just him just attention to detail.
Yeah, I had questions about this. So when they're talking, I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I got it right. It says when these cords, talking about the umbilical cords specifically corresponding to BTs, when these cords bring the matter of our world into the antimatter of theirs, boom, void out. That's what Mama says. Explain that to me, because I thought void outs happened when a person died and their body wasn't incinerated in time. So how does that correlate to the umbilical cord of a BT colliding, the antimatter of that colliding with the matter of our world?
Does anybody want to take this?
So I have a theory about BTs, just in general, that I think tracks with this. I don't necessarily know the right answer here, but my theory of BTs is they are, these people that have unresolved things, and the hands breaking through, attacking you, I think is them trying to get back into this world in a physical form. And so BTs, when they're going after their body, they are attacking their own body, trying to get back into it, and that's when the matter and antimatter combine, which causes the void out. That's my running theory.
I like that thought. I wonder if BTs are spirits, people's cause unable to repatriate, but are attempting to.
Yeah, and from what I had thought, it was that when a person has died and their ka is starting to separate from their bodies, that causes the pooling of chiralium because it needs to create that chiral density in order to create a portal through which the ka can pass through to the beach. And the BTs are summoned by that chiralium in Timefall that occurs when they're going necrotic. And so I think the BTs are just being pulled to those locations because it is a weakness in that dimensional portal. And my opinion was that they were BTs that were trying to help other BTs, other Kas pass through to the beach.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love how there's so many different possibilities, and I don't know if it's ever directly explained in the game. It's interesting. I also feel like we should probably take a quick second to. This is at this point in the game they start talking about Kas and Has, and the really quick and easy way to is the Ka is the spirit and Ha is the body. And so, but they at this point in the game they start to really lean pretty heavy into Ka and Ha. So when we say that, that's what we're talking about. Ka is spirit, Ha is body.
Right.
Yeah.
She does say, her child is not like other BTs, and after that she says that they can't leave this location. And so I think this is alluding to BTs are tethered to the location that they died.
Which would also make sense if they're trying to repatriate. It's because that's what happens to Sam, is he's tethered to that location until he repatriates.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that actually, because she says that her baby, I wrote this down, only connected to me, not like other BTs. And you can see the tether going right to Mama, and the other BTs that you encounter out in the wild, the cord goes into the ground. And so I was curious, what is tethering BBT to that location? Why can't she leave? There doesn't appear to be any other kind of tether around.
Yeah, so the umbilical cords are really just like the conduit that is the connection between dimensions. And but I think the reason that it's connected to her stomach is because it's where the still child was when it passed away. And so that is just where the child's Ka passed. And while she had the physical child still inside of her, and that caused the portal to be connected to her physical body, her Ha.
Gotcha.
But if she moved her physical body, would BBT not also come with her? Why is she trapped there?
Well,
I was just about to ask, is it the BBT that's tethered there, or is it Mama that's tethered there?
It's both.
It's both. Okay. Because when
that's right. They talk about it later. I forgot about that. They do it later in this chapter. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Because, when Mama leaves this place, she ends up passing away after, and we'll have to talk about the mechanics of that. So she's also tethered to this location because she has no Ka. But that's a whole thing. Can of worms. But we'll get to it in just a few, I'm sure. All right, so she goes over his cufflink data, and it shows that he actually was at the beach. It was a war beach of sorts. She speculates
War
that...
Beach, new band name, I call it.
War Beach.
I like how they explained to him, hey, guess what? You weren't lying. And it's like,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
All I can think is Captain Holt just screaming, "Vindication!"
That would be very out of character for him. I love it. Yeah, so she speculates that he was trapped between two different space-times. So is this literally Unger from a different time? I'm curious. It's definitely the space-time of World War I that was folded in on the space-time of this timeline. Well, it's the same timeline, but different times and different spaces. So different space times have been folded in on each other because the beach exists as a liminal state outside of all space and time. And I like to think of this as the interdimensional hole of pancakes from The Good Place.
From The Good Place.
The IHOP, where Chidi sees the time knife.
The time knife.
The time knife! But they describe the time knife as a trillion different realities folding onto each other like thin sheets of metal forming a single blade. And it is...
That sounds about right.
It is at the end of that show, spoilers, where Chidi has his...
If you haven't watched it, you just shush. If you haven't watched it, skip forward like 30 seconds because it's a great show and you should experience it. Okay, go ahead, Roshan. Yeah.
Anyway, Chidi has all 800 plus versions of himself folded in on himself from the time knife's interdimensional blades being folded in on each other, and they all get compressed into a single person that makes him concrete and resolute as to being finally a decisive person. And it's a beautiful show.
It really is. Everyone should watch it.
But that's what's going on here.
Yeah, well, and so the only way that I can make sense of this like World War II beach where Unger hangs out is just by thinking about it as the dot in the eye of the Jeremy Bearimy. Like it's outside of time. It's kind of doing its own thing. Well, and even like Unger seems to be confused as to like where exactly he is and what's going on sometimes. So
he actually says, where am I? Where's my BB? So he was sort of pulled here because we find out later he actually was a combat veteran, not from World War I or II, but he was in Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Iraq. And so for some reason he's outside of time, but he has this. Well, they also describe this war beach as it's a fantastic lore where if multiple people die within the same time of the same like tragedies and stuff, their beaches can become folded in on each other, and the exits disappear, and they are forced to relive this in an endless loop of trauma. And
sounds super fun.
Yeah, it's awful, but it's beautiful lore. And Unger, having been a veteran himself, I'm sure had some kind of connection to that sort of trauma, and I think that's why he, in his traumatic state, was pulled into this giant vortex of a beach that shares trauma with him.
The time knife beach.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the book Dark Matter, where your state of mind kind of influences the kind of the environment that you're in, and so I imagine he thinks of looking for BB as a battle, a fight to be won, and because that's the life that he's led, and it probably influenced the beach that he's on, or which one he went to.
Yeah. Hartman, right at the end of all of these sections, he specifically says, come see me, I want to talk about beaches, because he knows about it, but he does specifically say that beaches, while you're taking a shower, that they are influenced by your philosophy and religion and all of your world experiences, so they all fold in on each other to create your own projected version of what paradise or hell or afterlife would be. And I thought that was a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
It's also similar to like Interstellar, when he goes into the black hole and he is both like years into the future in his timeline, but he's able to see back in time in 4 dimensions back to his daughter right before
You're
he
stuck
left.
behind a bookcase.
Yeah.
Oof. It's a rough way to be.
Nobody wants to get stuck behind a bookcase.
Hanging out in the 4th dimensional bookcase.
All right, so she describes that as they're going to form more knot connections, it's going to cause more chiralium to the density to increase, which will cause more temporal phenomena, just like the one he just encountered with Unger at the war beach. And so, because of this issue, he needs to take an enhanced version of the Cupid, which is the hardware that Mama has been working on, and he needs to go and see we find out is her sister, Lachna. and she writes the software. So they do a lot of this with these two characters, where they are, if you were to combine their physical bodies, their and their talents and whatever, like everything is like exactly half of the whole, and they end up at some point becoming connected, and we'll get to that. So she thinks that as they're going around connecting the UCA, that it's going to it could potentially cause a new Death Stranding.
Yeah, this was where I'm kind of like, well, that's a red flag to maybe stop and figure this out and not just blindly go forward.
Well, I had the same thought. Mama says, like, she tells me, she's like, yeah, it could cause chiral spikes. It's potentially very dangerous to keep connecting people, and it could even cause another Death Stranding. And then you have a little bit more of a conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, she says something like, don't worry about the chiral spikes, keep connecting the world. And I'm like, I don't know, man, maybe we should worry a little bit about the chiral spikes. Like, if it could cause another Death Stranding, maybe we should pay attention to that.
Right.
I mean, it's also kind of interesting of just, any connection. I mean, at a philosophical level, there's always risks. It's never all good or all bad. And so I think it's just kind of interesting of just like some connections are good, some connections are bad. You never know what's going to come of it, but there's also always this potential of good, which is what forces us or drives us to keep on making these connections as humanity.
It does also illustrate how important this mission of connection is to the UCA and to the president and to Deadman and Mama and everybody, that this is so important to them that they're like, this could potentially have massive consequences on a global scale, but like, we need to do this. That's how they feel. That's how strongly they feel about it. So
when she was saying that this might cause another Death Stranding, I became kind of suspicious of what her motivation was to continue going.
I don't know. She's ideological, I guess, just like the rest of the UCA. Not really as crazy as them, but all right. So after this moment, we hear BBT starting to cry, and it's scared, and there's an electrical failing. Lights start to flicker, and a BT starts to reach out for this child, and the other side wants her, and Mama says she knows she can't go on like this forever. All right, so did you catch it?
All I could think of was D'Angelo Vickers. Give me that baby. That's not your baby. And just spikes the baby.
That's not your dog. That's my dog.
Yeah. That's my dog. Dang it. That's my dog. Yeah, that's right. It's a dog, not a baby.
Yeah. Same concept, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Answer your question, Shan. No.
Okay, so they don't tell you, and I just caught it while I was rewatching the cutscenes. That BT is Mama's Ka reaching out for the still child.
I was curious who that might be, and I thought that maybe it could be Mama, but I also didn't remember if her Ka had left or not, so I wasn't sure. So, but you're confirming it. You did the research that's
so no. Well,
probably,
so I was
probably what it is.
I was watching it, and it had a dark. The BT had dark hair in a ponytail, had a tank top, and and it was a blue tank top, and then seconds later she talks about the destruction that she was caught in, and she's wearing that blue tank top.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how Mama's Ha is able to go on without a Ka. Like, what would
it's because of
it's because but it's because of her connection to her BB.
No, I'll explain this. Right? Because I had time to think about it, so I can explain the mechanics because it's very cerebral, and this is the best I can come up with anyway.
No one's smart. Shan's the only one that's got the brains to explain this to all of us.
I'm starting to resonate with Hideo Kojima's chiral resonant. We're starting to resonate on the chiral spectrum. So I'm starting to get what he's throwing down. And it is so hard. But like, I'm constantly asking questions and just like kind of sitting there like, am I an idiot? And then I pull up ChatGPT and have it explain things to me. But this, I caught most of this on my own.
So everybody sit back and listen to Shan regurgitate information that he got on ChatGPT.
No, I asked it. I was like, why is... I was trying to figure out, I was like, why is Mama's child connected to some other BT, and it was like, oh, it's just like somebody else who died in the rubble at the same time, and that person's became attached. And I was like, okay, sure. So it just lied to me. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I know who that is. And so it just didn't tell me the truth. And so I actually am trying a little bit. But because I had to make these connections, I was able to kind of discern how I think the mechanics of this work. So she, at this moment, is talking about how she never got to hold her baby. And so you see her Ka reaching out, trying to hold her baby because she never got that opportunity. Oh, gosh. Sorry, that hurts a little bit. Yeah. But it was right after she explained that she never got to hold it. And then you see that happen. And her Ka is just grieving over not having this opportunity. So I think that grief manifested itself in the beach. So she is a BT with unresolved grief, as we were just talking about. Yeah. And she's now reaching back out to hold her child. And so her BT exists so long as it isn't reunited. So I think the baby, when it passed away inside of her, the baby's Ka started to be pulled away to the beach and pulled her Ka with it, but her Ka continued to the other side, but the baby was still attached to this still baby inside of her, or something like that. So I think it was just sort of like her Ka went at the same time the baby was, but the baby was tethered to her, whereas her Ka wasn't. And then her physical body resurrected, or not resurrected, but came back to life because it wasn't fully dead, but her Ka wasn't able to repatriate because it had.
Did she say specifically that her physical body died, or did her Ka just happen to leave with the baby?
They say both she and specifically Lachna calls out that she did die.
Yeah, not right now. They do it in like a little bit later, but yeah. Right?
Yeah, they, like when you get to Mountain Knot City. So I think this whole story is, symbolic of the grief of stillbirth and learning how to let go. And I think, and at some point, Mama does end up making that decision that it's time to cut the cord and time to learn how to move on. And that's when she ends up finding her peace and passing away. But she no longer had. So once the BBT passed onto the beach because the tether was cut, she no longer had that connection to the beach, and she fully passed away without her soul.
Yeah. And I want to talk about for a sec just how beautiful that scene is. Like, so Mama develops these new handcuffs for Sam with his blood infused into them so that he's able to sever umbilical cords of BTs to take them out that way. So designed as a weapon, but Sam asks her, will it work? And she says, yeah, let's try it out here. And so Mama understands that, I think she fully understands her situation. She knows that she's not really alive and not really here, that she's being tethered here by the baby, and that her baby is also trapped in kind of a limbo state, and it's time for her to let that go to the other side. And I think it's just such a beautiful scene. Sam cuts the thing, and then you see Mama's Ka get to embrace that baby and usher it into the other side, and it's just beautiful. I think it's just so
it's getting me.
I'm gonna start crying, but it's just a beautiful, really emotional scene about a mother's spirit being reunited with her daughter, and it's really, really well done and very beautiful.
Yeah, once she said that we need to test it out, my stomach dropped because I knew what was coming.
Yeah. So that's why Mama can't leave this site, because she doesn't. Well, her Ka has passed on, and her BT is stuck in that spot. But specifically, she can't leave because of the child, and we see that once that is cut, she also passes away because she is no longer tethered, and she is just an empty body at that point. Okay.
We gotta move on. It's too much.
Yeah. I also okay. Did you notice when she goes to calm down her BBT, she pulls out an actual Odra deck? So
Oh yeah, it's like a little star, like it, but she makes it look like a mobile kind of, like a little baby
Yeah.
rattle sort of.
So it's like a star that has string wrapped around it, which is exactly as Kafka described it in his book. And now that you've seen how it looks physically, and he had described like this thing was alive but pointless, and sentient, and he was filled with existential dread that it would outlive him with meaningless existence. I love that he threw it in there, or they threw it in there as just like a toy that she rattles in front of her child.
Just further taunting Kafka. Yeah.
It's so random. A star thing with string loosely wrapped around it. But okay. All right, so after this he has a dream again of the beach, and it's with he sees BB-28, who we later find out he's naming Lou. We see the child on the ground.
Which is
They're
adorable.
both naked, other than the both being naked part. And he picks him up, and after that he looks up and he sees Amelie, and Amelie is reaching out, and then he looks down. The baby is now a doll. So did you catch what this might mean?
Well, the thing that I caught is she's not wearing her Kipu, right?
Oh, she's not at that point already? I didn't catch that.
Oh, never mind. I think I'm getting it mixed up with another dream sequence.
Yeah, she is wearing her Kipu at the very beginning of this sequence.
Yeah.
All right, so I just barely caught this because I was rewatching it several times. We just saw Mama's Ka reaching out for her child, and then in the dream sequence immediately after, we see Amelie reaching out for Lou in the exact same way. And I don't know that it necessarily represents that this is Amelie's child, although I don't know, maybe something to think about there. But we already have seen that Sam had a child that passed away, and so I think that his grief and his unresolved trauma is he also has to learn to let go, similar to Mama, of his child's death, and he has unresolved issues there that he has repressed. Because later...
I think he just doesn't want to talk about it. That was the impression that I got.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll get to that part later then.
Well, and there's a bit more to the dream sequence that
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Higgs
You've got a plan. I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah. Higgs grabs Amelie from behind, and he's threatening to kill her with a chiralium knife that he's holding up. And then he like slowly stabs it into her neck, and she's just like kind of happy about it. So so he stabs
Whatever
her, he takes her Kipu.
Yeah.
Kink
It's a
shaming.
kink.
Yeah, I like that.
Anything goes on the beach.
Yeah.
All right, so he takes the Kipu, he puts it on. So what do you think this represents?
So I think the Kipu was a gift to Amelie from Sam when Sam was a child, as a way to connect. It's like every time you make a new friend, add a knot. And I think that Higgs is taking this symbol of connection not just between Sam and Amelie, but he's taking it as a way as a symbol of preventing Amelie from making more connections. He's saying, I am in charge of this now. I have, Amelie. This is I'm taking control of the situation. Basically, I'm taking away her agency in this matter. That's kind of a thought that I had connected to the Kipu.
Yeah, I was.
So,
I wanted to ask about this as well, because she really didn't seem to fight it at all, and almost seemed relieved in a way, which made me think of what Higgs was talking about when you first meet him, where he's saying, hey, this could be a game over for you. Isn't this what you've been searching for this whole time? Wouldn't it be nice to just be done, basically? So is that what Amelie wants as well? And now she's finally getting it? I really
I
wasn't
kind of
sure.
had that same thought. To me, it felt like, okay, this burden is finally being removed. Maybe not in the way she thought, but yeah, just the emotions. It seems like it's, little bit of relief.
Yeah, I think her smiling, the cognitive dissonance and friction there is denoting that, because his whole thing, he's a homo demon who's a separatist that wants to destroy the concept of the UCA, which is antithetical to what she wants, as far, as we understand it. But here it's as if she's perfectly because what happens when somebody dies, it causes a void out, and it just seems like what he wants. It seems like she, at least in this dream, for some reason, is perfectly okay with him getting what he wants. Or it's just it's just silliness. It could just be silliness.
It could just be silly. They know how much we love the silliness. No, I honestly, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to Amelie. I was more focused on what Higgs was doing, and so I didn't pick up on any of that because I was not paying attention to that part.
Yeah, have we heard... I don't want to conflate what I know and what I shouldn't know by this point. Do we know anything about what Amelie, about her beyond what... Okay, so we don't know anything. All right, let's just move on then. All right, so... Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, are we continuing with the sequence, or are we done with the sequence? Because I wanted to point out something that did happen there.
Yeah, go for it.
Did we mention that Higgs took the Kipu and put it on himself?
I mentioned it, but we didn't talk about it that much.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was noted because it comes up again.
Yes. Right after this, I believe. So so after this, he hears that Edgenaut City is overtaken, and because he comes to and he sees Amelie in his room. Yeah. She says Edgenaut City is overtaken. She snuck out to talk to him, so this is a chirogram projection, and she's temporarily safe. He asks, "Well, Amelie, what about your Kipu?" And she doesn't answer. And
whoa, was that Norman Reedus?
What about your Shan?
Doing his voice exactly.
Yeah.
Not only doesn't answer him, but doesn't even acknowledge that he said anything at all.
Yeah, just really brushes him off. Where's your Kipu? And she just kind of keeps talking.
Yeah, so after this, she says she'll wait at the beach. So she's not wearing the Kipu at this moment. So does that represent that the dream was real? Or is this a projection from her from the beach? Where his dreamlike state was, where the Kipu was taken, which is both real and a dreamlike vision, but I think is always real, but while not always having to be real.
That made perfect sense, and I followed every word of it. I don't know, man.
Is this a chirogram or is this a projection from the beach?
So I think in this instance, what Sam dreamed about was clearly some kind of manifestation of something that was actually happening. I mean, but not completely, because Amelie doesn't have a giant knife wound in her neck and isn't dead. But something happened that took her Kipu away. That part of the dream is true. Or she willingly took it off. But I can't imagine that would have been the case. It was a connection between her and Sam. I think for her to lose the Kipu, it would have had to have been taken from her. Likely by Higgs, because she says that the homo demons have made their way to Edgenaut City, and so
it is very specifically like a charm that represents their deep connection. So when she's not wearing it, it feels like that's been severed in some way, in that and she starts acting a little more erratic and whatever. So it feels like tonally her character is shifting in some way.
Yeah, and I wrote down that Sam asked her twice specifically where her Kipu was, and both times she just acts like she doesn't even hear him. Not just doesn't answer that question or dodge it somehow. She just this could have been a playback recording, And then you're asking, is this a chirogram or is this something different?
A projection from the beach. Yeah.
A projection from the beach, yeah. And my thought was that it was a chiral projection because it ends with her kind of doing that animation where they kind of explode kind of thing. And that's what Deadman does when he's doing the chiral projection, when he tells you, I'm not actually there. This is just a projection. And so I figured that's what it was.
Is that the same animation that Fragile does when she's going through the beach? I'm not sure.
It is either the same or similar. So maybe it's just like a there's some similarities between chiralgrams and traveling through the beach, just because of their chiral nature for both of them. So I don't know.
Maybe it's just the portal through which you travel looks like that.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Maybe the developers only had time to animate one.
Yeah, one
They
thing.
animated one, and they
disappearing
really liked it, and so
thing,
they just used it for everything. Yeah.
You can definitely tell in this game that they were lacking for time.
Yeah. They really pressed for time.
Very rushed.
Really
It's a
shows.
hack job.
So right after this, he has a dream about Unger. Well, this is as he's connecting to BB, I believe, right? And we just see there's an alarm going off. He has a gun, and he gets shot. So it seems like Unger
does, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unger Games. That's a reach. But so it seems like he actually has died in his timeline before it gets folded on the time knife into the beach.
Into the wartime beach, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be alluding to that for sure.
And he has repatriated on the beach because we see the umbilical cords and we see
scars.
the T section, and he has the BB that in his throat, I believe. And so he's got the whole repatriation thing, but he's only repatriating to the beach, not to the physical world. So I don't know. It's an interesting twist on repatriation that I don't know that we are supposed to understand yet.
Repatriation.
Reaching.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, so after this, Deadman, I believe, I think he's the one that describes the Separatists were the first to discover BBs. They used them to navigate BTs and push them into the path of bridges. Bridges used BBs as a countermeasure, and that's what his was for, to counter the Separatists, and all of that information was buried. So
They believe that's what BB-28 was used for, right? That's what they're looking into?
to counter the Separatists.
Right.
So they say
A
that
lot
this
of
was
big
on-
lore dumps in this thing where they're just throwing a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah, do you guys read the mail that you get too? There's a lot in there as well.
I have
no.
not. I've been wanting to go back and do that all at once and just kind of tie up some loose ends with lore. But if you have something to share, please do.
There's a few things in there. There's a piece of mail from a guy named Owen Southwick. I think he's from South Knot City. He's talking about the tar pit that you threw the nuke into. It says theory suggests that the crater or tar is a conduit into the other side. Whatever we put in there would wind up on the beach.
Okay.
But he says
So
that's
some
just
beach is just getting nuked the crap out of.
I was going to say,
yeah,
it's a very
But
irresponsible
my
way to
I
dispose
wrote
of a
down
nuke.
here,
Not
so-
my problem. See you later.
Yeah, whose beach though, right? Because
That must describe all the dead BTs that wash up on the shore and get stranded.
Yeah, it's all the
They've
dead
been
whales.
All the dead whales and the dead crabs are because people keep dropping nukes down tar pits. Yeah.
And then the engineer sent some mail that says maybe there's more of us and our memories in our beaches than we realize, but we already talked about that. Mm-hmm. And then Deadman points out that there is no blue in the inverted rainbow that you see.
Yeah. I thought something was uncanny about it, and I didn't break it down when I was looking at it. But then I saw that that note that I didn't read, but I want to get into
wait,
like
does he say
whatever
why?
that might mean.
He has a theory, and he talks about death fluorescence in dead roundworms. Like when roundworms die, you shine a UV light on them, and they glow blue, but only when they're dead. And so he says death is blue. Like blue represents, it's the dead color. It says light can get
when
through the
Sam
scene.
dies
and
in the prologue or episode 1 or something, he goes into the ocean for the first time, and it is washed out blue filter, which contrasts with the grayscale that's on the beach. So now I finally understand why it was blue, because that was the spectrum of death.
Yeah, so he says that electromagnetic waves or light can get through the seam and leak onto the beach, but the blue light is caught in the beach or something because it's associated with death. So, just kind of interesting.
That's adding up in such a weird way. It's going to take me a while to...
I found a thing,
Just
but I'm not. I googled something and I found a quote, but I can't. I'm not entirely sure if it's a spoiler, so I don't want to read it. But it's interesting.
Can't or won't... Can't or won't read
Should
it.
or shan't. Or short.
Should or short.
You can't read it or you can't pronounce it.
That's it. That's what it does. All right. They also say that the BB project was taking place on the island of Manhattan, and my first thought, I'm guessing a lot of
Manhattan
people
Project.
thought, was the Manhattan Project, which
Yep.
didn't take place in Manhattan, but it was like based on some university or whatever where the project's inception started in, but it took place in like Arizona and stuff.
Headcanon
So
is that Oppenheimer worked on the BBs. Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
In his spare time.
Yeah. It's a side hustle.
Yeah, so it's almost like this was a seminal moment in human history for them, by which, like, because that's what, the Manhattan Project was, and Oppenheimer, we've all seen it now. Well, okay, we haven't all seen it. I've seen it. Has nobody else seen it?
Shan just
seen it.
assumes. I haven't
Okay.
yet. It's
Okay.
on my
Oh my gosh,
ever-growing
Eric,
list.
it's been out for
I
so
know,
long.
I know.
You'll finally get the nudie couch reference.
Yeah.
They reference it in Mythic Quest, so you should probably watch Oppenheimer first.
Well, I mean, it's on the list, so.
Should watch Oppenheimer regardless. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's fantastic. I have every intention of watching it. I have not gotten to it yet. I feel like I say that
RDJ
a lot.
gets his Oscar for it. But yeah, it seems like that seminal moment in human history by which like things would never be the same because of this advancement in technology and science. And I think that's what that's why he references that with the Manhattan island of Manhattan.
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 That was my really bad Laszlo
I don't know
impression
what
from What We Do in the Shadows. We're from the island of Manhattan.
Oh, there it is. All right, so you find Mama's twin sister Lachna at Mountain Knot City. She doesn't want to join the UCA. She's former Bridges 1, so they went west together on that expedition, I believe, with Amelie, and they have since been severed. But they worked on the Cupid together, Lachna and Malignan, which was a really hard name to remember how to say. Like my mouth doesn't want to say the G first; it wants to say the N first.
Unlike me, Shan practices the pronunciations of names before he does them on air. So
Eric just like pulls it up. He's like, "This is what this name
it'll
says."
be fine. Yeah.
He just offends everybody he possibly can.
At this point, I feel like I have to do it on purpose now. It's our longest running gag. Yeah.
Yeah. So this so her name means measurement in Scandinavian. So I think that's just referencing to her engineer personality. And so they worked on the Cupid together. Malignan did the software and Lachna did the hardware, and they together discovered and created the chiral network. And they allude to like it's as if it's one person in two bodies. We find out later it's because they were Siamese twins, I believe, and they were severed after they were born, but they maintained like a telepathic connection and could share thoughts across great distances, as if like through the beach, because I don't know, it's like their thoughts are passing through dimensions.
Yeah, they basically shared a ha and a ka.
Yeah, their brains are the chiral network.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because they said
They
that
shared
they
a
were
beach,
born
yes.
conjoined, and so they
Yes.
they came into the world with one body, with one ha, right?
Yes.
And so their
but
kas,
severed
if
their
there
ka.
are multiple, then they are intertwined.
That answers a question that I had about an event that happens in just a little bit here. Something that I hadn't considered that. So, and I'll bring it up again when we get to that point. But that's interesting. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So we have to run back and forth across the entire map in this episode. So that's a lot of fun. Although you could take Fragile, and I don't think I did that for one of the times, and I regret it. So
Yeah, she can
that was a long
teleport you
trek
all around.
back.
Yeah.
Oops. That's fine. It's nice riding the trike across the entire map. That is pretty fun. All right, so after this, you have another Unger vision, and he's drunk and he's beat up, and Lisa's in a pod. I think at this point she's already has become a still mother. Has started that. She has a. They have BB, so she has passed away, and they are keeping her body preserved. And he says, "I put her in that bed," so we don't know what that means yet. All right, so we run back to Mama's, and she has the chiralium cuffs and their cord cutters, and she says specifically the BTs are connected to our world through umbilical cords, and you have to sever the umbilical cords to return them. And that's where we get the whole lore about the antimatter and the matter meeting through that conduit of the umbilical cord that causes void out.
Yeah, jumped the gun a little bit on that story beat of her and her baby.
Yes. So also I wrote down Igor caused a void out when he touched the chiral hand of the giant BT. And in necrotizing bodies leak chiralium as they transition to the beach, and so I think that's like to create a portal for their Ka to pass through, and that attracts BTs, and when that touches they explode. So so the hand wasn't an umbilical cord, but it seemed to also possess that same like the moment, because he had just stabbed himself, he had already died, and the hand having touched him was the antimatter touching the matter that caused the explosion.
Was it Igor that caused the void out, or was it the body that they were taking?
Yeah, I thought it was the body.
I thought that he stabbed himself while it was pulling him up into the air.
Well, he did.
Snapped him in the hand.
Well, he did stab himself, but usually it takes a body 48 hours to necrotize.
To necrotize, but it just says here, matter and antimatter causes a void out.
Right, and I think it caused the void out once it kind of swallowed him in the hand face.
He was already dead because he stabbed himself.
Yeah, he was
necrotized, but he was dead.
Right, and so what I was thinking is
the necrotizing.
Yeah,
sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're okay. So the hand face thing like swallows him, right, and then the void out happens, which seems kind of similar to the experience in the seam, where you go into your mouth and are kind of swallowed, and then you repatriate. I don't know if there's some kind of connection there, but it's not when the hand necessarily touches him, but when it like ingests him, kind of like how you ingest your own Ka in the seam.
He probably saw a giant fetus inside of that BT's throat.
No, that's an interesting thought, though.
Depatriated to the beach.
Yeah, depatriated. It's a reverse repatriation. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so
I'm curious to know what happens on the other side. I'm curious what happens to the other side when a void out happens here. You know, what's happening on the other side.
Yeah, do they get an explosion? I don't know.
Yeah, every time we repatriate, what's happening to them? You know, is something going on that we don't get to see?
They shouldn't have touched our physical bodies.
Not my problem. Yeah.
They experience a void in.
There it is. Yeah. There's the joke. We found it. Yeah.
That's it. It's a very poor joke, but it's there.
So in this scene, we see Sam breathing cold air, so that continuity of like when BTs are nearby, the temperature drops. Mama offers to have her BBT cut. It says it's not really her child. She couldn't produce eggs, and Lachna had a uterine problem, so Lachna wanted the child, but her significant other had passed away, so they were going to use they were going to inseminate and do it in vitro with Mama, or they did. That's just what happened. Lachna had wanted to die. She was, I assume, suicidal or something like that, and Mama offered to be the surrogate. But yeah, so Lachna doesn't at this point know that Mama did have the child, and she's keeping. Well, she knew that she was pregnant, but she didn't know that she's keeping the child tethered to our world.
Okay, yeah, I was curious if Lachna knew that Malignan was dead or had the baby or any of that, because she kept saying that she deserves to know, but I wasn't exactly sure what she was saying. She Lachna, should know.
Yes, it's that.
And it's that,
and
okay.
We've been saying it wrong this whole time. I just remember it's Malingan.
Malingan.
So I did say it wrong.
Yeah.
I did say it wrong.
I have intentionally been referring to her as Mama because I'm not going to go near that name. I'm definitely going to say it wrong.
I was specifically saying how proud I was for remembering the order of the consonants, and then I got it wrong 3 times in a row.
How embarrassing for you.
It's really hard to say Malingan.
It is. I keep wanting to say malignant, but
Yeah,
Yes.
that's where. Yeah,
That's it. It's Scandinavian, so there's that.
And didn't they say it was
I
like
don't-
the names of craters? I think. Lachna
also an
and
IKEA
Malone-
couch.
They serve
You can put it
excellent
right next to your couch.
meatballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Meatballs, get your meatballs. She offers to have her BBT severed from her in order to reconnect with Lachna. So I think this is a beautiful representation of like the sacrifice that's needed in order to move on and to reconnect with the world in the wake of tragedy or something like that. So just a beautiful symbolic representation through this story.
Yeah. Well, and Mama is sacrificing a very personal connection to her child so that she can be connected with her sister, but more than that, so that the world can go forth in its mission to connect with one another. So it's sacrificing a personal connection to give others the opportunity to build together and connect
To
again.
fill
And
that
it's-
void.
To
Yeah.
fill that void, and it's a very wholesome and selfless sacrifice that Mama does.
All right, so after you leave her lab, you see Higgs, and he pulls off his mask and he uses it to summon a cosmic lion out of thin air. And so he just like are hauling Malignan around while running away from this cosmic horror. And it's I don't know, it's short. It doesn't add a lot to the story, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, Higgs
Yeah,
is
well-
wearing the Kipu.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
he does have the
is.
Kipu. So it's
Yeah.
definitely like that dream was
real.
reflected in reality. Higgs took the Kipu from Amelie. Yeah.
But she is
Yeah.
alive, or at least is her ka dead? But is it not? I don't know what's going on there. It's also it could be
Aha.
because sometimes the beach is like a symbolic projection, and so while it represents, it's also not 100% real. I don't know. It's really hard to make sense of it. It's neither.
I
true or
have not for one moment of this playthrough or the last playthrough understood Amelie's level of existence in the physical realm.
You're
It
so
just
kludgy
completely
about it.
evades me. I don't have any idea what's going on with her.
That's right. All right, so after you escape, you make your way back up to Mountain Knot City, and she has that voiceover with talking about them being conjoined twins, and but she ends up dying as soon as she sees Lachna, and they touch foreheads, and you see Chiralium floating around them because they're reestablishing that chiral connection that they have from their Haas being severed, or whatever the magic lore is here that only exists in Kojima's head.
Well, this is the question that I had, is because it seems like that you see some elements of Chiralium at play, and then it seems to be that after Sam uses the Cupid to put this mountain knot on the chiral network, that the connection is fully established, and Lachna and Mama are kind of merged into one person. And the first time I played this game, and even this time, I was like, what the hell is going on? This makes no sense. But then talking about how they were conjoined twins and they were able to share thoughts, likely via a connection to the same beach, that their thoughts were traveling sort of like how data would be transferred in via the chiral network. So it stands to reason that when a strong connection is established with the Cupid to bring Mountain Knot City back onto the chiral network, that could in some way help establish that connection between Mama and Lachna's cause together as kind of like both of their cause in one Ha. So that, when we were talking about that earlier, that's the thought that I had, is that Sam connecting the Cupid, using the Cupid to connect to the chiral network, might have helped kind of kickstart that merging of Mama and Lachna.
That's right.
Yeah, I think they imply that it was Mama who rewrote the code.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
say-
they rewrote the code of the Cupid, so likely to fulfill that purpose. I totally missed that. That's probably exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, that's the reason why, because they're kind of cagey about it, and like I don't know why she rewrote it, but they talk about there being a new version of it, and we found the culprit, and it's Mama. Okay, yeah, and so they share a beach through their cause, and so when Mama passes through, her ka being on her beach is still connected to Lachna's Ka, which is still in the physical world, but they have a permanent conduit because they have always shared a beach.
Can I just tell you, I find it immensely satisfying when we're having these discussions to like not understand something, and then as we discuss it together to be like, oh, I get that now. That happened a bunch when we were doing The Last of Us. It's happened a few times with this one, but this is one of those moments where I was like, it didn't make any sense to me, but then discussing it together, I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. I love that.
Yeah, so that's exactly why like I wanted to choose The Last of Us and Death Stranding. Is because like you can consume it and miss 80% of the game and just get the story beats, and you have to break it down beat for beat in order to understand the mechanics. And because I know that nobody is going to go up and look up every single word that's said while you're watching the game, and no video essayist for a video game is going to be able to get through every nitty gritty thing.
Yeah,
and so these long form discussions are actually kind of necessary.
Yeah.
And everybody
they
can
shed a
bring
lot of
their own
light.
things together.
Yeah, they shed light on a lot of details that we would have missed. Like, you know, we had
And
some
I
big
did
revelations.
miss the first time I watched this.
Yeah, we had some big revelations, particularly playing The Last of Us Part 2, that were very, very, very interesting. So, yeah, this is a good episode, you guys. I'm learning stuff. I'm having a good time.
I'm really liking this one so far.
Yeah.
You know, it's so
This
much
has been
more.
great.
All right, so so after this we see she has in a way merged with Lachna, because then they have that beautifully scripted moment where Lachna goes and
With her hands
grabs
and
both
stuff.
sides of her face, and she opens her eyes, and she has heterochromia because they both had two different colored eyes that are now combined in one body.
Which, I don't, can that happen with conjoined twins? I don't know if that's a thing that can happen. Because conjoined twins, it's like a singular egg that splits in half. So I'll look that up later to see if it's possible to have identical twins with different eye colors.
I'm on
Or
it right
conjoined
now.
twins with different eye colors. But it works very, very well for this moment in the game because, Mama had one eye color, Lachna had another.
Well-
so it's a good visual representation of like, oh, they're their cause are sharing a ha now.
I'm curious, like, can you only get conjoined twins from, what are the two types of twins? Scott, you're a twin.
You're a twin?
I'm not a twin. I have two older
You're not,
brothers.
you
who are
have
twins.
twins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay, that's why I keep getting confused. You
All
have
this time,
twins.
I thought we had an expert in here with
Identical,
us. Yeah.
and what's the other one?
Paternal.
Paternal. Okay.
Fraternal?
I'm curious
Fraternal.
if you can get
Fraternal.
fraternal. Can you get that kind of twin to be conjoined? Like, can they be conjoined afterwards, or conjoined only from like something that goes wrong in the separation process of an identical?
Hit us up in the comments. I feel like let us know if we're wrong. I feel like just logically it makes sense that conjoined twins would only be identical twins, like an egg that
That's
didn't
what
fully
seems
split.
right.
Right.
Because
Like,
fraternal
what if-
twins is
yeah.
it's two eggs each getting fertilized, and then an identical twin is one egg getting fertilized and then splitting while it grows.
Okay, so
Yes.
conjoined twins can have different eye colors.
Really interesting.
Whoa!
So
Kojima did his
way to
homework.
go.
Yeah.
He did his homework. It's extremely rare, but it can happen.
There you go. Who knew?
And then when their cause merge, they
They
Then-
each get one.
they get one.
Do you think they switch? Sometimes it's like right and left, and then they
Yep, they do.
take turns. It's my turn with the left eye.
Can you think of anyone who had heterochromia other than David Bowie? He's the only one I could think of.
My brother's
Famous
dog
people
has heterochromia.
that-
Yeah, saying
My
Chance dog
has
has it.
heterochromia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's half of one eye.
I say my little brother has an Australian Shepherd who is a
It's a
little
red merle.
Yeah, he's got one icy blue and one brown eye, but I don't know any people with it. Not
I
personally.
know
anyways.
we have a family friend whose young daughter has that. It's really cool.
It's awesome. All right, so then we get to episode Deadman. When you're in your room, you look up BB's missing, but then Deadman comes in holding BB. He talks about BB being directly in the middle of both worlds, so that's where I made the connection. It's like that's why it's in their throat while you're repatriating at the seam, is because it's that bridge. But I think it's symbolic. I don't think it's really there, obviously. He has not swallowed BB. But
Yeah, just
delicious.
Pizzagate all over again.
oh my God. Sex trafficking of children.
Yeah.
The Pizzagate scandal. Just some of the dumbest people in this. Okay, don't have to get into it.
I'm really proud of your restraint there, Shan. Yeah.
I didn't restrain myself at all. I got into it a little.
Boy, we never want to be monetized, do we?
No,
Yeah.
but just
No.
watch. We'll lose half of our subscribers, and we'll realize how widespread Pizzagate really was.
Maybe
Hey,
if it's that big of a
controversy
deal, should
sells.
we put a pin? Yeah.
All right, so he says BB-28 is starting to lean towards Sam and the living, so he's becoming more human, and that's allowing him to develop cognitively and physically. And Sam doesn't see a problem with that, but Deadman needs to sever the bond with Sam in order to readjust it on that spectrum back into directly the middle. Otherwise, it'll lose its functionality and it could die in a few days.
Yeah, and Deadman's not shy about pretty consistently referring to BB as a tool. He's like, BB's a tool. You can't. Don't think about it as a person. BB's a tool. And then 10 minutes
Your
later in the
presentation
game,
tool.
yeah, you're a presentation tool. But then 10 or 15 minutes later in the game, he's like, oh, the little guy likes me. His name is Lou, and it's just okay. He just comes around on BB being a person super fast.
It's because they imprint on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to point out here, I'm not sure if you're going to bring this up, Shan, or not, but he says specifically that there is a 70% risk of catastrophic failure simply in removing it, in performing the operation. But that 70% comes up again. So it's interesting that
It does.
that percentage shows up twice.
Okay. Didn't catch that. All right, so he says the surgery may erase BB's memories, and then right after this, BB pees on Deadman, and I think yeah, it's gross.
I mean, he squirts some BB juice on him. It's
there's pee and fecal matter in there.
Yeah.
It's how umbilical cords
Some
work.
BBQ sauce, if you will.
Whoa!
There it is.
Yeah.
This is why we bring Tucker along. He's always there. He's got
Not
us
for the
covered.
insights.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there stewing on it.
Yeah, it's not for the
That's what
thoughtful
he's
insights,
for.
I'll tell you that.
Scott just got it. All right, so I think maybe he released this this pee or whatever you want to call it on purpose, because directly after this he gets into the shower and then you're supposed to join him there, and it's very uncomfortable.
This is the
But
most
he wanted to have this
part in
conversation.
the whole game.
I didn't
Very
know I
hard
was
to
supposed to go in there for a while, so Deadman was just standing there in my shower for 5 minutes.
Hey man,
Slightly more upsetting
what
than
do
fragile.
you need?
Hey, I got something important to tell you. Let's go take a shower together.
He just expects you to follow him too.
It's completely unspoken. He just goes and walks fully clothed into the shower and just stands there Sam will be here in a minute. And not only that, when he's talking to you, he keeps getting really close to your face, and it's we could have this conversation at opposite ends of this shower pod, you friggin' weirdo.
Yeah, you
Really
can see,
invading Sam's personal space.
Yeah, you can see his aphanthophobia really kicking in at this moment, and he is just
I felt so
dying
bad for
inside.
him. Yeah.
Yes. I felt it too. I developed a little bit of that phobia.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if those feelings I was having were aphanthophobia, then I have it also, specifically
I
for
think that's
showers
just a
with
normal
Deadman.
reaction.
I think he was being a little too generous. I would have screamed. He says that he wants to be in there so that they don't have the cufflinks on, and so Die Hardman can't hear them speak. And that's when he starts talking about the first BB experiments. Again, they were suspended by the government following a void out at Manhattan, the island of Manhattan, and it claimed the life of the then acting president. So then Vice President Strand assumed the role of presidency. Everything was banned, but it continued in secret under President Strand to solve the Death Stranding. He's trying to hide this from Die Hardman. Intimates that he thinks that Die Hardman might have been connected to this void out, or at least he's not sure, and that's why he has to keep it a secret, because it's like, why would he, as the director, know what's going on, and has classified all of this information?
Yeah, I didn't pick up on any of that. I didn't hear a single word that Deadman said. I was very, very distracted by how uncomfortable I was.
She wanted to incorporate the BBs into the chiral network in order to facilitate travel to the beach, and it didn't happen, and now the tech is in the terrorist hands. Sam asks how long Die Hardman was working for President Strand. Deadman doesn't know anything, his face or his name, and is questioning Die Hardman because he's questioning about Die Hardman to Sam because Sam worked with him at Bridges 1, and Die Hardman worked with Strand after the Void Out, and he's just wondering about all of this situation.
I wonder if this project that they're referring to is how the Homo demons have, because I think some of them have BBs and Odra decks.
They were the
Higgs
first ones that had
definitely does.
BBs. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They created the BBs, and the UCA also created BBs to as a countermeasure to them.
Yes, okay, that's right. I remember them saying that now.
Yeah, I was looking at one of my notes when you were first talking about this, seeing Chan. Did you mention that they wanted to use the BBs to travel to the beach?
They just said they wanted to use it to facilitate travel to the beach. So I don't know if they were going to use it to travel, or at least carry it with them, but they were going to use it to enhance the chiral density and network.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, why does Higgs have one if his, like, chiral level or whatever is so dang high? What benefit does he get from having a BB? Does it just bump him up that much more? Just more bonus points?
Yes, that's probably it. I mean, you have Higgs at 7 or more, and he's fantastical.
So Sam, when he connects to BB, his Doom's level goes from a 2 to a 3. So I wonder if something similar happens when Higgs hooks up to a BB, if it takes his, because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, before he, at the end of chapter, what was it, Fragile, chapter 3, I think, where he pulls that big monster up out of the ground, he activates his BB first, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah, so I wonder if that just kind of bumps him up to the next level of Dooms. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Deadman says that, or Sam says that Die Hardman was already wearing the mask when Sam met him. Something about burning his face. So, possible connection to, was he involved in the explosion and his face got burned in that situation? Possibly. But he's never shown his face. It says the director, which is Die Hardman, is the only one with the clearance. Chiral Network is the new opportunity to piece together fragmented data so that they can start to solve all of this information. And you're supposed to leave without BB. And so, it's like, it's just a fantastic way to just get the tension and stakes up while you're out and about in a way that you haven't had to deal with for a long time.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
No, it's one of the most vivid memories I have of the first time I played this game, getting caught in like BT land without BB and not knowing what to do.
Made me miss BB a lot.
It's a really great gameplay via storytelling, or storytelling via gameplay moment, where it's like you've gotten so used to being able to rely on BB that they take that away, and from a gameplay perspective, it just makes you be that much more cautious, and it makes you miss BB, and the whole distance makes the heart grow fonder kind of an argument, where it's like, oh, you're really gonna miss, and then when you get BB back, it's like, oh, like I missed you. Come help me out with these these
I
crazy
guess I missed you.
I guess I missed you.
Yeah, I like
how many office quotes can we slip in here? Yeah.
I was cruising around on a reverse trike or something, and every once in a while Sam will talk to BB, and there were a couple of times where he's like, did you like, oh, right, yeah. He's like realizing that BB's not there and is sad. I like that.
Yeah, I didn't get that, but that's sad.
I wonder, that just might be a random event that happens. I didn't experience that either. That's adorable and slightly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Also, as you're ascending the elevator and you don't have BB attached and you don't connect it and have a flash to Unger or whatever, it's just like, there's just that emptiness you feel. Were you gonna say something, Eric?
Nope.
No, okay. All right. Higgs has summoned BTs at a massive tar pit, and that's on the way to Ejnaut, so you can't go there yet. So you're forced to jump around Mount Knot City and connect the chiral network, but you can't do it without BB. You find out after this that Lachna is. We already talked about this. She's combined with Malingen.
You did it.
And
good job.
Yeah. I've even wrote it down incorrectly, so I'm glad I got it. But I wrote it down incorrectly every single time. So my brain can't even do it. So she says she has joined bridges because it's what Malingen wants and what we want. So now they have inextricably become fused as same in motivation and in spirit and body. So I don't know. It's and every time they. She has like a musical motif that goes on whenever it gets into like the surrealism around the mechanics and lore involving her, and so whenever she starts saying weird things, it's like you hear the and you get some like some fun surrealist like soundtrack music to go with it. It's great. It's unsettling.
Can you do that again so I can?
I can't do it. I realized as I was starting that I could not make these
sound like some
weird
bluegrass.
I would say it's the Seinfeld bass line.
I can't do it, but who is it? What's his name? Kevin, or in 30 Rock, he remember when he sees Jerry Seinfeld in the elevator?
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to talk, and so he just does the Seinfeld. He's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, so you run around, you connect the Mountain Knot area as Deadman is fixing BB. So you see a doctor, a mountaineer, and a photographer, and like this, astrologist or whatever, just one of those kooks that
spiritual
I wouldn't associate.
Guru or something.
That's it. I wouldn't associate with this kind of person in real life. Somebody starts saying horoscope and I just check out. Can we please leave that one off the UCA?
Second thought, I'm going to take my Cupid and I'm just going to go anywhere else. Yeah.
It's the photographer's twin sister.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't.
Not that really
or
matters.
I missed
But
it. No, I
Not the
missed
twins in this chapter. Yeah.
But you
I
do.
guess this is a
Okay, that
different
explains
chapter,
because the photographer gives you some rock samples with handprints on it to take to this spiritual guru. So
it's the mountaineer that gives those to you.
Oh, okay. Then I have no idea what's going on.
I
just
don't.
missed
Thanks for
that.
keeping us honest, Scott. We're
Yeah.
fact checking us. Yeah.
You're dumb. All right, so throughout all of this section, you find out Neanderthals had encountered beach things about 30,000 years ago. So I looked into this. I think this might be referring to the Younger Dryas extinction event. It's not a mass extinction event of the 5 that we commonly hear about. So it sounds like BTs can pass into this world during any extinction event. It's just worse during the Big 5 and whatever the 6th might be. So the Younger Dryas event was the extinction of Neanderthals, and I also saw that some timelines put it at 10 to 20,000 years ago. So, but somewhere in there was a severe cooling period, and after that a severe warming period. But the cooling period lasted for 1,300 years, maybe caused by a comet or an asteroid impact, or by a shift in ocean currents leading to the advent of Homo sapiens. So it was either the beginning or end of that event. I think it's bookended by 2 extinction events that he might have been referring to. Or at least the Ice Age event. I think that's what it is. Okay, so Deadman is nearly done. BB has woken up and he saw Deadman first, so it seems like that's why he's imprinted on him. And he says, it's time to give BB back, but it's complicated because there's a vortex supercell of chiral density that's forming over around Mountain Knot City. So he wants you to go see him at a cabin that's adjacent to Mountain Knot City. On your way, you find the spiritual advisor or spiritual guru who says that the mountains were pyramids at one point, and so it's about as close to the beach as you can get. So probably just connecting the lore of the Ha to the Egyptians and stuff like that. Although it's also in the United States, so why would there be pyramids in the United States? That's just wrong.
Vegas.
Yeah, she's a spiritual
okay.
guru. I would not read too much into her.
She just doesn't know what she's talking.
That's how I felt too.
Yeah, just dismissing everything.
Spouting straight nonsense.
Classic Sagittarius.
Okay, well, I'm Sagittarius, and Scott, you're Sagittarius.
I was about to say, Tucker, how did you know?
I'm also a Sagittarius. That's the only reason I brought it up.
We got,
I'm a Libra. Y'all are a bunch of nerds. Yeah.
got December 1st. We got November 23rd or 22nd.
24th.
24th. As soon as you were going to say it.
Yeah.
And Eric's October something. 20-something.
18th. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was like earlier, like later last year. I was like, I texted Shannon Tucker and I was like, we've been friends for like a very long time. And I was like, I have to own it. I don't know your birthdays. Will you please text them to me? And I'll
I
put
don't
it
know
in my
because
phone,
we're not
and
friends.
I'll never forget it again. Like,
No, Scott's has to be the easiest that I've ever had to learn because it's my month, but it's the first day. And nobody's ever born on the first. It's so convenient.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, you should be ashamed if you don't remember Scott's birthday, and so I'm sure he's dismissed a lot of friends over the years.
It's 1 week after my birthday. That's easy to remember.
There you go. All right, so you head up to the Mountain Knot City cabin, and that's where we start episode 7 because the vortex comes and the cabin gets swept up in the supercell, and Deadman gets swept up with BB and you as well. So we got another Dorothy situation, and you're not in Kansas anymore.
but this time, Deadman gets sucked up into the tornado with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he has
There
BB,
is.
and he's holding on.
Because he's got BB.
Bring my BB home. So, when you get to the World
This
War
is really good, Shan.
Way down in Beaches Land.
Yeah. That's right.
There's a Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat reference that everybody is going to get.
It
No,
is
wait, or is
not.
that the Prince of Egypt?
No,
it's
it's
the
not.
Prince of Egypt,
No.
right?
No,
It's
it's
just
just
Bring
like
my
else.
people
it's just
home.
an old song. Oh yeah, you know what?
I think it's Prince of Egypt.
That's right.
Okay. So I was wrong the first time, but Prince of Egypt. It's an animated movie about Moses.
Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
not why I know that song. Let's just put it that way.
All right.
All right, so when you're in the World War II beach, you see a bunch of dead dolls, or like, you know, those dolls that have been mutilated. And
Creepy dolls.
Deadman's there. You see an inverted rainbow up above. You see planes. So we're in World War II. We above the bridge that he's hiding underneath. You see this like cosmic horror battle tank go by with like these like tendrils and like I don't know, squid like
It's a hard
Fleshy,
pass.
nasty.
tentacles
Yeah.
coming out of it.
No, thank you.
falling off.
I'd like to leave, please. Yeah.
You see the skeleton soldiers passing above head, and Deadman was clearly bought because of BB. The dolls have T sections. Did you notice?
Oh, they do.
I did not notice that.
I did not notice that. I just kind of was like, they're all jacked up and weird baby dolls, but they do. They've got stitches on their tum-tums.
Yeah. So this is like
What does that mean?
it's something about repatriation. I don't know.
I did have a question for you guys around just the setting. Just going, we started out with World War I type of setting. Now we're going into World War II. I don't know if you guys feel like there's some symbolism there. Eric is very excited to say something.
Well, no, I had a question for you guys. Did they say World War I for the first one? I always thought it was World
You
War
just
II
know it
both
is.
times. Okay.
No, it's World War I because trench warfare.
Okay. Okay.
Read a book.
Damn.
All right. Anyways, my bad. I
Watch a
learned my
Christopher
lesson. I'll
Nolan
never
film.
ask anyone a question ever again.
Yeah, Dunkirk, All Quiet on the Western Front.
I didn't see that one. There was 1948, which I do want to
1917.
watch. 1917. Wow, completely wrong.
Yeah.
That is a World War I movie that I do want to
Yeah.
watch, but I haven't gotten around to it. All right. So you got one of these BB dolls that starts floating through this canal, and then you see flashing red light underneath, and the skeleton soldiers ominously appear out of the dark, and they start marching towards you. And Unger's all hooked up to them. He's got his Splinter Cell gear on. Very badass. They put a lot of effort into scripting his intros. It made me love Mads Mikkelsen so much. Like, I am obsessed with this guy right now.
It's so cool. It's impossible to like watch him enter the scene in this game. Like in these wartime
so much
things, where
gravitas.
he's got his weird umbilical soldiers, and he's like summoning cigarettes out of nowhere, and it's just like it's impossible to not watch him and just be like, this is so cool. Like, it's just so cool.
And just like, yeah, they take so long just like holding close-ups of his face. And how can he be so captivating doing so little? Like, he underacts perfectly to just draw you in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is one of like maybe my favorite role that I've seen him in. I think he's awesome in this.
There were a couple of things that I wanted to bring up that have happened in the cutscene. One, Deadman plugs into BB, right?
Yes, he does.
And so I was curious, does everyone just have one of those hoses in them all the time? You know, like the Na'vi do, like with their long ponytails. Everyone just has one. Yeah.
You gotta have.
So
it's like a sexual organ.
Yeah.
And so he plugs into BB. So no, Shan, it's not.
No, not like I'm talking about the Na'vi. How theirs is.
Yeah.
How their hair is an organ of sorts.
Okay. Yes. All right. And then. So he, and then just one of BB's eyes opens, right?
Yes, which was odd. It's like he was hiding. He didn't want to look, and then he opens up one eye, and the doll does too.
The doll does too. Yeah, and then in the cutscene leading up to Unger, he's got like the black stuff coming out of the opposite eye.
Oh, I didn't catch it was different.
And it did, and then when like the doll bumps into him, because it floats down and bumps into him, he looks up, and now both eyes are clean.
I was going to ask that same question, because he's got the liquid chiralium or the tar or whatever, and then
it's just out of that one eye that remained
the doll
closed.
bumps into him, and then it's gone. Like,
it's the same eye as the baby.
The opposite one that
opposite
was
of the
opened.
baby. Oh, I thought you were saying it's the opposite eye of the first time he had this look. It's the same eye, I believe. No. But it's the opposite eye of the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That makes sense.
I have no idea what any of that means, but they are all things that happened.
I mean, these are acting as like surrogate BBs, right? And I don't know if that has anything to do with this.
Yeah.
But
and I wonder
he throws
about,
up one of these dolls at one point.
And I wonder about these soldiers that are connected to Cliff as well, or Unger, I guess, that are connected to him as well. It's like, are they some kind of like BBs that matured like out of, because they're connected to him via umbilical cords, and so I don't know. It's all very weird. Lots of stuff that I don't remember. If it was something that I learned in my first playthrough, I don't remember it. It's very captivating to try to figure all this out.
All right, so as you're running around the streets, you run into Deadman in the sewer, and he explains he's been alone with the dead, but now he understands Sam. Lou is hesitant to go back. He likes Deadman now, and he says this is like a special beach for soldiers who died during battle, so they all died at the same place, same time, a lot of trauma, and it all got enveloped into the same place. We already talked about this. Also, which is
really cool, like metaphor for PTSD. I just want to throw that out there. This is their beach, and just having to relive that over and over and over again.
It's bad time.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's horrific.
That's where they're like trapped, like their soul is trapped in this moment in their life, reliving it, the trauma of it. So yeah, that does make sense. All right, so Sam hooks up to BB, but he no longer has like a flashback or anything, so it seems like they're broken, they're not connected right now. All right, so you run past this with BB, and you have this amazing moment, obviously, with Clifford, and he's in barbed wire again inside of a church, and then he just he shoots down to the ground in a poof of smoke, and then he spawns his soldiers again to come and get you. All right, did you catch the church and why they added that? It's not. I mean, it's just it's where people go to connect. And in the first beach, they were in the trenches. So you fight him at the church here, and you fight him in the trenches in World War I, which is a labyrinthine, connected place. So it's just like he's picking places that they're elevating his theme of connection.
Okay. Yeah, I did really like the imagery of Cliff just kind of like laying down in his big spider web again. Like,
Yeah.
They can't overuse that. It's still cool.
No, never. Do it every time. I love it. Yeah.
All right, so after you fight and defeat Clifford, he kneels down and he says that all of this was his fault. He says he put him in that prison, so I think he's referring to putting BB in the pod or something. He reaches out for the astronaut that's dangling from it, and then he attacks Sam, and Sam pulls off his dog tag. They embrace again, and you hear a heartbeat. So I was curious if this was Clifford's heartbeat or if it was his own. I don't know if you're supposed to know, or if maybe it is just Sam's, because then maybe you would have heard two heartbeats. I don't know.
Yeah, I have nothing on that. I have no idea.
I mean, I
didn't
assume
notice
Clifford's
that.
dead, but maybe he's also not dead in a way. But
Yeah, well,
it
I
could
mean,
mean
Clifford
something.
has the T section, so he's repatriating, but he's repatriating to a beach instead of to the real world, and so I wonder if that's the heartbeat is some kind of indication that might not be as dead as we think.
Yeah, you
Maybe
know
not.
that
I don't know.
Fragile can use the beach to travel. Like maybe he is a repatriate in his physical body stuck in the beach. I don't know. But I was reminded of this because, let's see, because when Sam was a kid, he feels Amelie's warmth on the beach, and that's the moment she realized she was alive. And so I was just kind of recalling that when we hear the heartbeat, but we don't know whose it was.
I'm gonna give it a solid maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. All right, so we have, after they embrace, it flashes to Clifford dying and struggling in the hospital, and you see his dog tags fall. So he actually was a vet, and we find out later from Deadman he served in Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. But these weren't his wars. He is just able to share this beach because it is a trauma he understands. And and I think that resonates across all beaches that share that pain. So I that's beautiful lore.
Yeah.
After this moment of embracing him, like that is a moment he has a flash to Unger, and afterwards he's able to connect to BB again and have memories. So I'm wondering if this was some kind of frequency realignment that was needed.
Yeah, maybe the heartbeat was both Sam and Unger's synced up.
Syncing up. It could be that. That's fascinating. All right, so after this, Sam wakes up, quote unquote, like he's not actually awake, and he sees Lou's pod with bloody handprints on it. So this to me was symbolic of Unger and the beach. Well, no, just right after that, we had that memory that they just had of Unger, and he was bloody and dying, and he was trying to protect BB, and now we see the pod with bloody handprints on it. So I think it's symbolically representing that, but when you look in the pod, it's just a doll, and it's not actually BB. So do you think it means anything?
I had written down to ask you guys that same question because I wasn't sure exactly what to make of this. Like, besides its connection to Unger using these dolls as kind of makeshift BBs when he's on the beach, some kind of something there. I'm not exactly sure.
So before you get Lou the first time, like if you die before that, you have a doll inside of you, and then it gets replaced with Lou after that. And Unger only has these dolls, the same dolls that you have before BB. So I'm wondering if looking in the pod and seeing the doll, but with the bloody handprints that are supposedly Unger's. I'm wondering if it's representing Unger's loss, and how he no longer has his baby, and so that's why the baby's not in the pod. That
So I kind of like took it as a reminder of, oh, Lou is not yours. Lou is the son of Unger, and Unger is taking him back. But that could be maybe a little too simple.
It seems like there's a few things going on that could represent the level of connection that Unger has with BB at any given moment. You know, something like with the chiralium coming out of his eyes, because at the end when you do embrace, the chiralium's back. I don't know if that means anything, but it's back. You know? And then, you know, BB's like that creepy doll again, and those are the types of things that are around Unger in these war zone experiences that we have. Again, I'm just kind of pointing things out. I don't have any theories right now. It's just kind of interesting to see that.
Yeah, it's very easy to glaze over these random dreams and some like symbolic visions that he has, because you probably aren't supposed to know, but also it's beyond surface level, and I don't know if anybody, like, I think it's supposed to be interpretive to some degree. Maybe there is a right answer, but he's okay with anybody taking whatever they want from it.
Yeah, the whole, I don't know, the whole doll's representation does feel very artsy in the way that it is meant to be interpreted. It's meant to be what it means to you, and there is no solid symbolism.
Yeah, other than, like, I do think there's at least a denoted connection between Unger and him not having his baby and having that be replaced with the doll. I think it's really just that loss of his own child that is connected to having to be replaced with something that is empty and ugly and gross.
Could it have been other potentially unborn children? Because Sam had one in his throat before he got BB, like you said, and he had an unborn child that died. Perhaps Unger had the same experience multiple times, which is why we see multiple dolls.
Oh. Okay.
Interesting.
It's kind of a time loop or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it maybe if, since Unger was at least in some way connected to BB projects, maybe the multiple dolls represent the multiple BBs that he helped create or birth or whatever.
There's at least 28 of them.
Yeah. And they're only good for about a year, we learned.
Yeah, and this has been going on for decades now. Wait, if BB-28 has only been around for a year and there's only been 28, ooh, that's really not that many BBs. Okay. Per year? Like one a year, two a year?
And I'm wondering, like, to Scott's point, like, if that's representing maybe not necessarily his unborn children, but if he has something to do with the BB project, is these failed BBs, is if there's only, 28 or so, and, how many possible hundreds did not make it. And that's what these dolls represent, of kind of that lingering guilt he might have of all these, unborn babies, and, that maybe needlessly ended up that way because of the BB project.
All right. After this, Deadman says Lou was the name that Sam was going to give his own baby if his baby has made it. And Sam says, I don't know what you're talking about. And he continues, a young woman died suddenly in a void out 10 years ago. A young man with dooms, alluding to Sam, couldn't get it to her in time. There was a crater, but he was left because he was a repatriate. People blamed him because he was left, and they blamed Bridges because he was part of Bridges. The woman's name was Lucy, which we know is also Cliff's wife's name. So, interesting connection.
I thought it was Lisa.
Lisa, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to read into this way too much, and it turns out I was just wrong.
Martha.
Martha! Oh my gosh! Why'd you say that name?
Shan was trying to Batman v Superman this game, and Scott's not having it. Yeah,
it's still very close, and he doesn't do close on without intention.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so Lucy, and he was going
Not
to
Lisa.
name the kid Lou, and he retorts again, "It didn't happen," and he said, "Yes, it did. President Strand told me." And he said he didn't have to cut all ties, and then he pulls up a picture of the photograph that Sam has, and so yeah, that's where I was wondering. It's like, does he really not remember? Is he trying to repress? How much does he remember? Because he does have that photograph. Is he? Because I was thinking, would it be interesting if he's trying to figure out what the photograph means because he himself doesn't know? I thought that would be interesting.
Yeah, I kind of read it as more he just doesn't want to talk about it. But the thought of him not remembering is fascinating. Maybe there's something
Especially
to
if
that.
the face is smudged out. It's like, who is this woman? Do I have a child? Like, what does he know, or is he trying to figure out his past?
Yeah, I think
There's-
the idea of him being like not wanting to talk about it makes a lot of sense, because that would explain why he developed such a quick connection to BB, is because he remembers that he lost a baby of his own.
Yeah. And there's something that happens at the beginning of the next episode, which we're not talking about tonight, which makes me think that he's just saying that it didn't happen because he doesn't want to talk about it.
Okay, yeah, then let's go with that. All right, so Deadman then explains he is up there. It is 70% cadaver, as Scott was saying. The
which-
other 70%.
Gross.
Somebody once asked James Gunn, is there a running joke with the MCU why so many movies refer to the number 12? And he said, no, it's the highest one-syllable number. And so it's just a good punchline zinger to a joke to say 12.
There you go.
And so 70 must mean something, and he's...
Yeah.
It's about as high as you can get without going to 100.
Well, I feel like 99 is probably that, but
No,
70's
if you were
close.
99% cadaver, then how could you have any... you couldn't be alive.
Well, Deadman kind of says that he's not really alive. He says some interesting things about
He has no
how...
caw.
Yeah, he has no ka. He's mostly cadaver parts, and he doesn't have...
Whatever to
How
explain
can it be
Guillermo
most-
del Toro's terrible acting. They probably wrote that in post-production. I'm just like, oh man, we need to explain this away.
This doesn't feel shoehorned. It feels very specifically written here to help us explore the expansion of the lore.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, sure.
Like, but that guy fits the bill. Let's put him in there. Just to give it backwards is all. So he says he's Frankenstein's monster. He was formed from pluripotent stem cells. He's a soulless meat puppet. He has no ka. He's a dead man. So right on the nose. They weren't trying to hide anything with that name. Because he has no ka and has never had a ka, he has no beach and no afterlife, and that's why he's obsessed with it all. And he didn't hate the beach when he was there with Sam because he knew Sam was coming, and he had never felt connected that way before. Yeah, it's like Mama and now this. I just love he's thinking, okay, what if you had no ka? What if you had no ka? What would that look like? What if you shared one? And he's using like every episode to tell one like parable through the lens of playing with one of those variables, so you can see the full extent of what that means philosophically and spiritually and everything else inside of the realm of his universe. And so it's just, yeah, beautiful writing how he accomplished that.
Well, and I also think like it really emphasizes the importance of heterogeneous connections. It's not just connecting with those that are like you. It's so important to connect with others that are not like you. And so I like how he uses this to emphasize that point, is that not everybody is the same. There's some general principles that apply across the board, but everybody is a little bit different. At least that's, how I read it, with all these different kind of combinations of Kas and Has.
Yeah, I really like that, and like actually being and feeling connected as well. The connection is more than just being polite and respectful, because Deadman says that he was always welcome at Bridges 2, with President Strand, but he never felt connected to anyone there.
Who here hasn't had a workplace like that?
Just showing up, working for the weekend. That's all
And
Deadman's
that's
doing.
why I bring my friends to every job that I go to, so I don't have to try again.
Yes. Why make new friends when you can just bring your old ones with you everywhere? Yeah.
There was another thing that I wanted to point out here. So we learned that Deadman is like a dead man. He has no Ka, so he's more affiliated with the dead side than he is with the living side. And so I was wondering how successful the operation with BB actually was, because BB now seems more interested in Deadman than he is in Sam. And is that because his alignment isn't perfect? It's actually more towards the dead, like they swung too far the other way.
Oh, okay, fascinating.
That's very interesting.
Huh. Yeah, and they need to connect and meet back in the middle.
Yeah.
Because Sam and him would represent both sides of that spectrum, and BB is fighting between those two, and so it tells you where he's at. I love that idea.
Because you watch the cutscenes in there, and BB really does turn towards Deadman as much as he can, and smiles at him, and kind of shies away from Sam, very, very specifically.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. That's well, just like you guys said, Sam represents the world of the living, Deadman represents the world of the dead, and BB is in between those two worlds. And so if he's skewing farther one side than the other, then that's a good metric for like who he's more drawn to.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, I also had the thought of he's basically dead. He has no Ka. But he isn't going necrotic. He is technically alive. But I'm curious if... No, because I think this helps tie into the idea earlier where bodies going necrotic is really just absorbing chiralium in order to create a portal to the other realm for Kas. And if you have no Ka, then your body wouldn't become necrotic.
Yeah, that's the way I understood it.
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
Which is
that's what. Oh, yeah.
With Malingan and Lachna and her Ka and everything. Yeah,
that's why they said her body is special. She's not going to go necrotic, and it's because she had no Ka to pass through.
Her Ka is reconnected with something, right? Yeah. Her Ka already found a home.
Well, and her Ka had already passed on when she was in the rubble.
Void outs happen.
Yeah.
Bodies going necrotic and void outs are just like a really aggressive way for the other side to create some kind of chiralium portal to bring the Ka to the beach.
Yes.
Interesting. I love that thought. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So no BTs coming for Deadman, and no BTs coming for Malignan's body. Malingan. God, did it again.
Malingan.
Almost.
Malingan?
Mama. Yeah.
Mama.
Voodoo Mama Boo Boo.
Voodoo Juju Boo Boo.
All right, so we get a voiceover here of Hartman. He says, bodies are Ha, souls are Ka, and they have beaches. Beaches are given form inside of our brains by our beliefs, religion, philosophy, and so forth. The beach can be anything. These anythings form a multiverse. If many people die at once, the beaches become entangled and create a strand field. So they're all stranded in a field, yes. Worse in wartime because of dread and despair. The exits vanish and the events loop endlessly. A battle with no beginning or end. So we already talked about this being PTSD. I love that idea. All right. So then we have, at the very end of this, one last flash to Clifford Unger and a black man, who's the only black man we know, right, comes into this room, And and he calls him captain, and this man does, and to Unger, and he says, looks like Die Hardman, or he says he didn't know that Clifford Unger was the husband, so it looked like he knew about this whole situation. They were probably trying to create a still mother BB connection, but had he known that it was actually Cliff, he wouldn't have done it, because he respects him, because they have a connection, maybe from wartime, I don't know. So it's as if he didn't want the BB and the baby, no, the baby and the wife.
Also, can we put a marker here? Somebody's microphone is going crazy.
Haywire. It's Eric.
It's like, yeah, it's definitely Eric.
Oh, here, hang on. Let me. Is it happening now?
Just a little, but not. Oh, no, it's fine now.
Okay,
yeah,
weird.
Good.
All right, so it wasn't just me, right? Like, everybody kind of assumes that this is who we think it is.
Oh,
that's
100%.
who I thought it was, but I didn't get the impression that this Die Hardman probably character, would have not let it happen if he had known that Clifford was the husband. I thought maybe just something sad or bad happened to this woman, and he just didn't know that Cliff was the husband, and that's it. I didn't pick up on anything saying that if he knew Cliff was the husband, then they would have not done something or prevented it. I didn't pick up on that.
Well, put together the timeline of soon after this, he tries to run off with the BB, and he ends up getting shot. So clearly, this hospital has an agenda with this BB, and
he seems more of the ends justify the means kind of guy,
and justifies the mean. All right, so if we're all in agreement, this has to be Die Hardman. Because right after this, you get a chirogram, and it's like, okay, that is a spitting image just without the mask.
And it is just blurry enough that there's still it's you can't 100% confirm it, but it seems pretty that's probably who that is.
Okay, so that means that they're on the island of Manhattan probably, and this is the BB project. Possibly that's what's going on here. And Die Hardman, if this is him, there's an explosion soon after this, and his face gets kind of blown up. But working with President Strand, was coordinating this project to be able to create these BBs.
Yeah, and also Cliff refers to this
of
person.
This still mother situation.
Yeah, also Cliff refers to this person as John.
Which, did you catch that? John McClane, Die Hard?
Nah, I didn't.
He clearly just loves Die Hard.
Yeah.
It's the only name that doesn't have any actual connection to anything. It's just, I like this movie. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of.
No, well, Die Hardman because he's a repatriate too.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, but then he has to tie it to John McClane. Oh, I see what you're saying. John doesn't tie to anything. Sorry,
I got you. I got what you put down, Eric.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about Unger and what has him connected to all of this and why he's involved in a lot of this stuff, Mm-hmm. And Deadman is talking a lot about BBs being tools and equipment only, right, and not to get attached to them. But Sam has definitely gotten attached to BB, and that's strengthened their connection quite a bit. So much so that it became an eventual problem. We've seen a lot of cutscenes where Clifford is coming in and spending a lot of time talking with BB, bonding with him, reading with him, celebrating with him, mourning with him, with his wife in there. And so I'm wondering if that similar kind of bond happened between Unger and the BB, and that's why Unger's still attached somewhat to BB, and
baby
why he's
hungry.
Involved in all of this. What's that?
That's why he's so baby hungry.
Baby, oh yes, thank you. Yeah,
very proud of that one.
There it is.
No notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that could be something. I agree.
I don't know.
All right. Yeah, and so after this, you're told by Hartman to come bring the dog tags and Mama's corpse. There's no necrosis because there's no cause. We already talked about that. So the BTs come for the cause. All right. Anything else you want to add? Any details we might have missed? This was a very fulfilling episode.
He was able to bring the dog tags back from the war zone.
Yeah. Oh,
that's kind of wild, right?
So it's real. Hmm. Oh, okay.
And real in that it contains information that he didn't know about beforehand.
So
like
it's
he
not
brought
just
back
a projection
dog
of his
tags
subconscious.
with a name. Yeah, with the name of the person that he didn't know beforehand.
Well, and we've seen Sam be able to take things to and from his beach, so it's interesting to see him be able to take something from another beach.
Well, and from somebody who's supposed to be dead or a projection or something else, but if he really is a repatriate, if he is alive in some other multi-dimension, then this threat just got so much more real, right? It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't really give that any thought, but yeah, you got the dog tags.
Right. Yeah.
There's too much. There's too much to soak it all in. Like that's why there's 4 of us, is because we're gonna miss things. Like
Except Tucker, he'll never add something new, except a wiener joke.
He's always there for the wiener jokes.
Also, full disclosure, I did not watch or play this section at all before this. I did not get around to it. So I'm going off of like a 3-year-old memory right now.
Well, it didn't show you. It was great.
It's like 2 hours of cutscenes. You could have watched it at 3x speed, and like that was beneath you.
Yeah, it was. I lost track of time today.
And all week.
All week.
All right. Well, that's good. Sorry. Okay. Go on.
No, I was gonna bring up one thing that I noticed a couple episodes ago. Maybe it was not episodes, recordings, videos that we did. We were talking about some character growth that Sam had.
What? Yes, in relation to Fragile. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
How he was asking her how she was doing. Yeah.
Yes, and there was another one in the Mama episode that I noticed that I really liked. So Mama asks Sam to take her to Lachna, and she's getting in the bag, and Sam asks if she's going to be okay. You know, he was afraid that she was going to be claustrophobic because of the accident. You know, so he's not just worrying about her physical safety.
Child loss.
Yeah, and he was worried about her being afraid and just not being comfortable, and I thought that was really nice of him to be concerned that way.
And then
our boy
he
Sam
zipped her
just
up
growing and being kind and thinking about other people.
As she said, "Zip me up," I couldn't not hear in my head, "You unzipped me! You unzipped me, Doc!"
Froggy!
It's always sunny. Froggy! Oh, you unzipped me! Well, that's going to do it for us today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and follow Eric's Indie Corners on Thursdays. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Outro. Bleepity-doof, bleepity, bloopity, blow.